Welcome to the future, you guys. We are so live, and it's been so long. I think you guys miss us. I miss you. And today, we have a doozy of a show for you guys. I'm super pumped up right now. I might even lose my voice. And you already can tell because of the title, but who's going to be on the show? But there are some things that I already know about Mr. Aaaron James Draplin. Here are some things that are important to him. Family, Pantone Orange 021, Futura, Junkin, Thick Lines, Gary, No Pants, Field Notes, and Portland. That's just what I was able to gather, but we'll hear from the man himself. But before we go further, you guys, I need to just warn you. Parental advisory, there may be some strong language. We're going to be on our best behavior, but I don't want to invite somebody on the show and then have them not be who they are. So parental advisory, if you have children in the room, there may be a couple F-bombs here and there. I do not know. Strong language. Say. We're going to be on our best. I can't say. Why am I hearing an echo? All right. This is Mr. Aaaron James Draplin. His design company is the Draplin Design Company. And here's a little bit of his work about what I was able to find on Facebook or on Google right now. We know he's involved in Field Notes, and so there he is. And we see the aesthetic, strong orange. Molly, please. Killing me on the audio, please. Okay. There's Gary the dog. A couple other things here to look at. And here he is in his studio. But the last time I saw him at Adobe Max, he said he's building a home studio. So this may be an old photograph pretty soon in terms of like where he's going to be working. Cut back to me, please. And without further ado, roll the titles! Aaron, welcome to the show. It was like pulling teeth to get you on the show, and I'm so glad that we're here finally. This was supposed to happen last year, but hey, some things are worth waiting for. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. Hi.
Absolutely. So I have a few questions from the internet, but before we do that, I'd like just to introduce our audience, and I can't imagine that they already don't know who you are, but for those of our audience that don't know who you are, can you guys give us like the little snapshot of who Aaaron James Draplin is?
Sure. My name is Aaaron James Draplin. I'm 44 years old. I'm a graphic designer. I live here in Portland, Oregon. And I make logos and lots of merch, and I work on Field Notes with Jim Kudal in Chicago, and really sort of a sweaty pursuit to be free and not wear pants. I mean, those are all kind of, little buzzwords in my little sphere right now, but it's a pursuit to be free and try to make things that as ethically as possible, enjoyed along the way. And so far, so good, so.
That's great. Thank you. And Molly and Ben and Erica are on the show as well, so you guys will hear from them from time to time. There they are. And Erica's off camera right now because she's really focused on doing an amazing job for us. I appreciate her doing that. Now, those of you guys that are tuning in, expecting Aaron and myself to duke it out, I just don't want to disappoint you. There may be things that we agree or disagree on, but this is not one of those debate, tear down kind of shows. This is not a show for controversy's sake. I just want to find out more about Aaron, what he's up to. Since the last time I spoke to him, I got to speak to him briefly.
What would you call it, a tear down? Do you guys do those?
No, we don't do tear downs, but I actually do invite guests on.
Are you known for that?
I guess maybe I am known for that. Aaron, you call me out on the show?
Well, no, I'm sorry. I don't really know why, like I've seen some comments where like, well, you guys need to really,
Right.
But I just don't know enough about what you guys are doing.
Right.
I apologize. I don't know because I'm, so engrossed in my stuff here, but that's, I'm suddenly all of a sudden kind of freaked out, that like I'm getting caught in a bear trap here or something. I mean, I'll talk about whatever.
Okay.
Whatever you guys want. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think sometimes there's a hot topic that's on everybody's mind, and we will set it up as I want to bring on a guest who has a polar opposite opinion of me, and then we'll debate. But it's all talked about, it's all set up, and people don't understand we're friends before the show, we're friends after the show. It was just to have a really spirited discussion. I don't think that's the case here. I invited you on because A, I have tremendous respect for what you do, your pursuit, you being not only a designer, being independent and free and having a whole passive income business model, and just more power to you. And I see the love that you get from people. It's amazing. So I guess my first question for you is, How does it feel to be to be considered or called a design celebrity?
Well, it's weird. It's weird, you know, because then it elevates you, you know, definitely in my case, up above what I actually really am, you know, and that's just a weird thing, you know. You guys have to understand, I've been, you know, lucky in the last 7 years to be able to go backstage around what I would consider design celebrities, and I've met, a couple that weren't all that cool, and then I met a 92.6% that were great, and they weren't whatever I thought they were going to be, you know. So I'd rather be in the latter, you know, where when a kid comes up to me at one of these, you know, events or in the airport or, you know, in the elevator, like this morning where a guy was like, you know, I'm going to listen in this afternoon. And I was just like, what is happening? You know, like, where you about what you guys do, you know, which is totally like, I was like, well, it's not this afternoon. It's in like an hour, you know, and he was like, oh, you know, like, that's really weird, surreal, and really cool privilege to be in that, you know, and to be able to accommodate someone when they come up to you and they're freaking out. So, of course, I squirm at the title. I don't know who wouldn't. You know, if someone wouldn't squirm at the title, well, then that's just a little weird there. But you know, I would more look at it. You know, here's the deal: the greatest people I've met, I could walk right up to them and talk to them. You know, that hasn't always been the case. You know, with some rock and rollers or you know, celebrity sorts of kinds of people, but you also have to get, you know, be cool with their space. But for the most part, people are, you know, this is graphic design. You know, I'm a working, you know, graphic designer, and I keep it. I mean, that's what I did last night. That's what I did this morning. I made things, right? And that's the story.
Well, I got a couple of questions for you. One is that oftentimes people who achieve some notoriety, some fame around what it is that they do, and you've received a ton of this, is that sometimes people are afraid to come up and talk to you because there's that fear. You're up on stage, you're up on that pedestal, and you said something to me on our podcast together, which was, I had asked you about the merch thing, like, why do you do merch? And I think you said something wonderful, and the reason why you do it is because you want to kind of have some kind of safe area, some neutral area where people can come up, look at stuff, and it's kind of a bridge so that they can have a conversation with you. And I thought about that, and I was just thinking, wow, how wonderful is that? Because from the outside, it could seem like, gosh, he's peddling wares in the back of the room. But I just think the intent, the heart of where you're coming from is so good. And it made me reassess, like, what I do.
Well, I mean, also, I want to make a good, stiff profit.
Aaaron Draplin keeping it real right away. Okay, stiff profit.
Well, I mean, go back, you know, you have to go back. I have to go back, and I have to look at how I grew up. And when I went and saw a band, and, you know, the Jesus Lizard, you know, in 1993, after they got off the stage and basically tore your face off, they went and had a cigarette, and then, you know, you'd see a couple guys at the merch table, and there was just this instant connection. They weren't hidden in a backstage. They weren't, you know, hiding themselves and creating this sort of mystery and stuff. No, they were right there slinging the stuff, and that won me over. So be it like a Mike Watt, you know, whose part of his thing is to sell you the T-shirt after he plays the show. He's right there out of a trash bag. What size do you want? Large, extra large, you know, whatever. It's immediate and real. And not to mention, that's one of the quickest ways a band can make some cash, you know, and get to that next show. So, I mean, on some level, I mean, what people don't see, and I don't know if we should even talk about, but if I notice a kid going through his wallet and he doesn't have the credit card or the simple card, or he doesn't have enough cash, I just give him the stuff. And that there's no UPC code for that. There's no good business model for that. Fuck it. It's just like, I just want him to have it or her to, you know, like, or cut a deal. That's not what we do in Portland, Oregon. If you want a glass of water and you want ice in it, that's an upcharge. In a lot of
Wow.
Well, it's freaking me out. And like, we don't have this sort of like capacity to just let things slide a little bit. Well, you guys, anything on that merch table, it was not there under some premise of like, I have to sell this to get to the next thing. No, it's all icing on the cake. And I just really like the idea of like someone taking something home if they're interested, or even just seeing it as an art piece, because it's not even about making the sale as much as I want them to see all the things I've made. I want them to see all the things my girl Lee has made with her little notes to self stuff. It's like, she's not a graphic designer, but she has ideas. And that's one person, and she made a little pile of stuff. Now, we just went and did a big night market here where we are primarily there to sell. But 1 in 20 people are there to say, they pull the book out, Draplin, will you sign my book? And they can come right up to me. So that to me is a success. Now, yes, you get some shaky hands and people forget how to use their phones and stuff. But it's part of my job to say, no. Turn the phone around. I got you. And you want to do a funny one? You want to put my hand over your eyes, or I point at you, or whatever the fuck. I mean, it's up to you. I have room in my life for all that kind of stuff. And I would just hope that when they go back and they look at me and they track whatever bullshit that they're finding out about me, that it's agreeable and it's good and it's healthy. And yeah, the language gets a little weird, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, I want them to meet me, and then when they see the next stuff, it makes a little more sense. He is very personable. You know what? That's not just me. That's Tad Carpenter. That's Aaron Seacrest, OK Pants. I mean, these people aren't turds. These are nice people you can walk right up to in any situation and have a chat with, and I just, I appreciate that. I appreciate, that kind of transparency. I'm not going to give you my social security number, but I'll talk to you about where you're from,
Okay, so I have a question to ask you a little bit about the dark side of that. But before I do that, I want to remind everybody how they can get in touch with us, because we see that we have 770 people watching on YouTube. So if you guys are watching this, Molly and Ben are going to be monitoring questions on Facebook and on YouTube. And if you guys hit me up on Twitter at @TheChrisDoe, #Future Draplin, and we will monitor your questions and comments. Now, guys, give us the good questions. Be specific. There's not going to be opportunity for us to ask a clarifying question. So if you ask something too abstract, it's going to be hard for us to figure out what the heck you're asking, okay? So here's the dark side, Aaron. Is there a moment where you feel like it's too much and people are kind of invading your private space? Like there's a moment when you're good to do all this stuff and signings and photographs and selfies, and then there's a moment when you're getting a little too pushy, and how do you respond to that?
Oh man. Well, I don't know. It hasn't been a lot of that. There's been I don't know, like when we're at Adobe Max, which is once a year, and there are 9,000 or 10,000 campers there, and we're trying to get to the hotel room because our feet hurt. Because we've been standing all day, middle-aged shit, and you can't even get to your hotel room. So what? If a kid wants to stop me in the hall, I'll talk until every kid has been sort of, dealt with. It doesn't really invade anything. I mean, every now and again here at the shop, there's a ding at the door, and it's some kid who just came here, kind of unannounced. But always thinking that I had a shop or I had a pop-up or this is an actual store, that happens too. There's only been but a couple times where a kid did that. And I said, hey man, it's just me in the shop. And I'm sorry, we're not hiring, but what he started to do is he started to come back every week. And it just got to the point where we had a dialogue where I could look at him and go, out. I told you, with all due respect, it's just me in here. And that's 3 times that, he hasn't been around, but I get it. He's trying to be irreverent, and because he sees me as something like, I don't know, and that's all. I can't really come up with a lot of those things, of where it's been really kind of like either freaky or something. It's just not like that. The average person who will come to me and say, holy shit, did I see you on some video?
Right.
You can't tell if they're going to start to laugh because they're in front of like my face. There's a sense that they're like, oh, that is you. And 9 out of 10 times they're totally cool with it, and other times they're just kind of like, so you're the guy my kid's really into. It's like when you're in Nebraska, you're done with the show. You know how they tell you? They go up to you and they go, Aaron, My son would have loved that. Now, when you loosely translate that, it translates to get the fuck out of town on I-80 and go west or east and never come back, from Margie the marketer, who's not interested in me talking about thick lines or working for or all the hits, but because they always have to say something, right? And so it's never really gotten all that dark. I hope it's not going to get weird. For the most part, everyone's not even for the most part. There's one turd out of 1,000. I have bigger. The stuff that grates me more is the fly swat quality of like someone tattling, on someone, because whether or not I agree with it, I still engage or look at it, or it's in my face, or someone's ripping you off and it's like, we can't. The rip off police stuff is real weird. I've tried to make light of it at some of the shows and say, whatever. You know how you beat these guys? You make more cool shit. And there you go. They want to keep doing it. Well, they got to wake up each morning knowing that they're taken. That stuff gets me a little more because I interact, or I see how, someone's not necessarily being held to some of their behavior, and then I have to kind of keep my mouth shut because I know the story behind it. Well, whatever. There's warts and moles and everything, you know. What I think the bigger thing is it's not like we're selling insurance here. This is graphic design. It's pretty cool. It's being creative. It's being like a lot of the stuff I make, it makes my client like happy. It's not, like I don't give them the price for the insurance and watch them go like, ugh. Like I make them happy. I'm really thankful to be a part of that, and I hope I exude that, when they meet me or read something, or I take the time to answer a kid's questions from a school, which I try to do it. Still try to, I'm losing my grasp on some of that stuff.
Well,
question. I don't know.
Yeah. I think you actually answered a question that Dan had asked. So can we cut to that screen? Dan asked you, how do you feel about people blatantly ripping off designs and other people's work? I think you've already spoken to that. I just want to make sure that Dan got a shout out for that because he wanted to know. But is there anything else you want to add to this whole idea of how somebody can reconcile that they feel like somebody else is ripping off their design?
I don't know what to say, man.
How do you feel about it?
Well, here's what I'll say. When I was 22 years old and starting, and it was 1995, and it was before that we had the world at our fingertips like we do now. I had just got my first email, per se. I remember I scanned in a piece of clip art and tuned it up and put it on something, and to this day I still feel bad because I could have bought the stuff. I didn't really have the money, but I could have bought it or done the work to make it my own. And that's the lesson I learned. I learned there it was just too easy to go grab it, because then you're haunted by it. The first person who saw that went, oh, this is pre-internet, went, oh, I know where that's from. That's from so-and-so. That's what taught me the lesson. Because what was I going to say? It was like, yeah, you're right. It's out there for the taking. I mean, there's a big difference between a kid being inspired and learning by either, because I did it too, man, emulating something to learn, but you have got to find your own little path, and some of the reactions that, I've tried to make in an overly complex design sort of paradigm where I see people learning how to make the most beautiful typography you've ever seen, hand lettered, ornate, Jessica Hish, Dana Tamagotchi, Gemma O'Brien, Kate Bingham and Burt, and realizing they hit something so beautiful and so special that I could never outdo them. Well, that's a way for me to react and say, I'm going to allow them to do what they do. And I'm going to go find my little shitty corner over here, which might be unearthing some old shitty Letraset fonts, right? Well, that was my reaction to what was happening, and it's like, if I made some thick line posters, that's a reaction because I saw things that were like, I don't know, fucking bloated Star Wars posters and stuff, which were cool, but kind of became predictable. So for me to pull back, and then, it's not a hard technique, and I didn't invent it. you know, or something. But then, you know, I get these kids, I mean, every day sending me something saying, look at this Draplin you made, look at this guy. And it's like, well, if you do a little bit of like research and be a human being, you're going to see he's a student. And then if, you know, when it gets dark, it gets weird. And it's like, okay, now this guy's, you know, selling this, she's selling this stuff as if it's hers. Well, welcome to the internet. Someone's going to say to her, well, not just me, you're taking from Dana Tamagotchi, you're taking from someone, you know, that we're in this call out culture now. And it's like, I just don't want anything to fucking do with it. And I also don't want to be reminded by it. You know, I mean, I'm trying to go look at my stuff. You can go look at my Instagram feed. I'm trying to make things. I'm trying to share things. If someone wants to take from me, first of all, who gets to be the police on that? Not us. And what? Some knucklehead who's got a Twitter account? We already have one of those, and it's called your president, not my president. You know? I mean, it's like even that. It's just a fart and a stiff win right there. So, you know, there's been a couple times. Like straight up, there's a guy in my town who just takes from people. He just takes, and he brought, you know, it's got like mental illness or something, and it's weird, you know. But I don't need to go and like, you know, police that or, you know, get it. It does grate me, because the sad part about this stuff is when you step back and you look at it and you go, man, it's not easy just to even take. It takes a little bit of talent to do that. They have the talent to make their own shit. They have it. But it's easier just to kind of grab. But you know what? You got to wake up with that stuff. So I hope I don't sound, oh man, like some kind of dick talking like that. But it's, you know, that's a bit of an elephant in the room sometimes.
Right.
You know, you get around that stuff and you're like, oh, that's that kid. And he's coming up to me and he's wanting his shit signed. You know what? It's my job to be gracious, to be cool, to sign the stuff, to say thank you. They're there to see the show, or I'm there to see some other show, and you know what I mean? So got to be a good citizen, you know? I mean,
I'm going to try to see what I can do right now to see if we can't break 1,000 live views. We're at 942, Aaron. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to blast out the link, so I think we're really close, you guys. 961 since I said that. Here we go. I want to ask this question. You've been very successful as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur. You have multiple businesses, multiple ways of making money. So there's a kid out there somewhere. And I say a kid, it could be a person who's starting a career late. What's your advice on how to get clients? What's your process?
What's my process to getting a client? Or what's my
can you give some advice on the people that are just coming up in the world in graphic design? You have any tips and recommendations on how they can get clients?
Well, you have to share your stuff. You have to show your stuff to the world. You know, no one's just going to hire you sight unseen. No one's going to hire you because you're cool, or maybe some people get that, but I didn't get that, you know. How I did it was I made all this stuff a hobby first. That's just the best way to, I mean, that's when people write me on my email and say, God, how do I get clients? Because I don't have any work to show. And then I don't have any work to show, so I'm never going to get a client and all this kind of stuff. You know, this kind of catch-22 shit. And it's like, first of all, if you can honestly answer this question, when was the last time you made something just for the hell of it? Now, when I do that in a classroom, I'm careful that no one really raises their hand because I don't want to embarrass anyone. But you'll see 1/3 of the hands go up that they actually just made something just for the hell of it. And you start to divide where you're like, oh, man, if your hand's not like whipping up right away, you've got a higher hill to climb. Like, because when this stuff was a hobby, it was just fun to make it. And I shared it with my friends. And then naturally someone comes to me and says, hey, I'm an illustrator. Can you help me scan my illustrations in and put them into a neat little kit so I can give this little kit out that says, hey, I'm an illustrator. And my job was to help curate that and build that little kit, you know, for them. And I got paid something for that. And then they in turn went and got a job. That's graphic design. You know, and that's where this stuff all started. It came from a place where they saw me doing it for myself, if anything, just to make a business card to say, here's my phone number to a buddy or whatever, and where I lived in Bend, Oregon. And then someone would say, well, I want a card. I'm a photographer, and I'd make them a card. And, you know, those are tiny little things that start to go out. And the thing is like, okay, to get a client, well, how could I not say it's right time and right place? You know, of course it is. It's a sprinkle of that. But it's also, you know, having the confidence to put your stuff out there, to show it to the world, and then without being, oh man, a nuisance, if you like something, don't be afraid to pursue it, you know. And I'll tell you guys a story where I failed, you know, because it's easy to say, oh, you saw this, you know, and you guys looked at this and this becomes bigger than that. Here's one where I fucked up. Years ago in Minneapolis, one of my favorite bands is a band called Sunvolt, and that would be like Jay Farrar after Uncle Tupelo. These are kind of rootsy, rock and roll, country-ish kinds of bands, and but still just punk enough, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. Sunvolt had made some sort of spin-off satellite little record label. At least Jay Farrar did. And when I got the first release, it had, and to this day still has, a rough logo. And what I did, excited, was I redesigned it. I printed them out. I put the packet on their windshield with my contact and said, you know, what I love about you guys is I love that you hire, you know, us to make your record covers, and they're beautiful and it's respectful of your sound and your legacy and what you guys have made all these years. But frankly, this logo is just lacking. You can tell someone who hired out for it, got their little brother or something to do it, you know, whatever you want to call it, their little sister, I don't know, a cousin, you know, who just doesn't have the level of awesome that you guys have with your other stuff. So I'm just this lowly designer. Here are a bunch of examples. And I got a call back from the manager. And she said, hey, we didn't ask you for this. And on top of that, you know, that was my friend who did the logo. So it was like, oh, like I was being offensive to her friend. Now, who am I to say the logo? Well, I'm a fan. That's who they're making the stuff for. To this day, I mean, I'll just say it. To this day, the logo still sucks. But in that well, I mean, nothing else in that guy's orbit does. But that's not his decision, I guess, you know. And the lesson I learned there was like, you have to be very gentle how you approach things. You can approach things. There's ways of doing it, you know. You could just make a you know, like here's the worst way to approach, maybe just me. Don't send me a 50 meg attachment in your email. You know, that fucks my iPhone up, you know, whatever. I gotta wait till, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, it takes too long to download. And it's like, that just shows me that you don't really understand the technology or whatever, you know, and there's like little things like that. So, you know, okay, to get back to the question, you have to share, you have to show, you have to gently reach out, and then you have to be open and on your A game when you do get that call. Because, you know, here's the next thing that I'm talking so much, I apologize. You have to overexceed, because the client gives you a little window, a little bit of light, and then you overexceed and you get more light. And before you know it, a lot of my clients, one little thing that I took a little bit farther turned into a bunch of t-shirts, turned into a couple sweatshirts, turned into a sticker pack and a patch pack. And then, hey, Draplin, do you want to do this as a retainer? Sure. And then you have to broker that deal. And suddenly you have a client, you know, like, but how did I get them? Well, I was sitting on a chairlift with them at one point, or we were just buds, you know, or they saw some pile of stuff I did. And then she came after me and said, hey, I like what you're doing. Help me with my band. And I helped her with her band. You know what I mean? I don't know the right way. I know how I did it, you know? I mean, you can also not have to worry about getting the clients and just go get a job and let someone else do that who knows how to do that. And you work at a place and then they bring you work and you do the work. And I did that for a little while too. You know, it was cool. Freaked me out, but never going back. I'll tell you that much. All right. What if we change the direction a little bit? And I started talking to all the tertiary and secondary people at the Future, and got them all to quit their job right now. Now, wouldn't that be fun? Hey, Molly. Hey, nice to see you. Yeah, nice to see you. You do know you can do this all from your basement too.
We're talking about this is a multi-million-dollar operation here. That is not possible.
No, I'm just saying, like, you know,
spreading the seeds of dissent already. I love it. All right.
I had a guy pull me aside while I was at my big job. I only have one big job, and all he said was, "Draplin, you can do this stuff from your house. You'll get clients. You're out there. It's not like I was out like partying down, but you're putting your stuff out there." I had a blog since '97, right? and you're showing things, and people are going to start seeing that stuff, man. You know, you're putting it out there. You don't make a penny. People appreciate that. I appreciate that. I go to your blog every day. That was 2002, you know? So,
Great.
Sorry, next question, please.
Yes. I'm going to summarize a little bit here. Boom, here we go. So cut to the slide, boom. So first thing you got to do is you got to show your work. People can only hire you if they can find you. So Aaron's been doing this for a really long time with blogs, with public speaking, with just putting his work out all over the internet, and he's got to let go of the fear of being judged by other people. I think that comes from having passion and some kind of hobby. You talked about that. It's like you got to do something that you really love, and if you do that, you're never going to go wrong. The other thing that you said was to under-promise and over-deliver. That's a pretty key technique on developing great customer service and building long-term relationships, because you never know where it's going to go. Now let's kick it over to Molly and Ben. What kind of questions do we have coming in from YouTube and on Facebook? First of all, I just want to say we've cracked 1,000 now. We're at 1,054. Let's go to
and we're at 330 on Facebook.
These are good numbers. So
awesome numbers.
This is over 1,300 people that are watching this live right now. So let's take a question from Facebook.
Cool.
Or from YouTube. Ben?
Yeah,
Molly?
so Jim Leonardson has a really good question. Aaron, what is your response when somebody says you're too expensive?
Oh, I love this. Woo, Jim Leonardson. Like, he's been hitting me on Twitter, so this is good. He's getting some love here.
Good question.
Yeah,
all right.
Okay, to what I do?
Yeah.
Well, you know, it hurts, you know, because you want people to value what you do, you know. And there's only been a couple times, you know, I really try to get people excited that they're getting a premium product. I really try to get them excited that, we're working together. I'm giving a bit of my life for them. You know, come out and be overt and say that. But a couple times I've had to say to them, hey, how much was it when the HVAC guy came and fixed your heater? Were you allowed to tell him that the $80 an hour just to pull the van up? Just to pull the van up, get out and get the clipboard, you know, scratch himself, check his phone, and then walk in. It's $80 just to do that. Were you allowed to say to him, it's too much? It is too much, but he fixed your shit and you're warm or you're cold or you're whatever again, right? And I've kind of had to say, like, you know, when I got my roof on my house, I wasn't allowed to say to them, like, by the way, I only think it should be 10 grand. I'm supposed to pay 15 grand. I'm only going to give you 10 grand. They're not going to put the fucking roof on your house, right? So, you know, the idea that, like, we have to promote a culture that we are valuable, you know, and you have to be fair about your time and fair about your hours and transparent. And if someone just says you're too expensive, then say, you know what, you're going to get something really good here. If you want the guy to put, and I'm sorry to try to make these like folky references to, I'm just looking at things around me that are unfuckwithable. I'm not allowed to go to my roof guy and say, that's too much. He'll say, cool, get someone to put a shittier roof, and then if you have leaks, don't come to me. Oh, you know, a couple days ago, I got a very nice email from a woman in California who said, I tried to make my logo on Fiverr 4 or 5 times. She put in $25 and she was pissed at the amount of time she spent. Well, some people are fucking stupid. What am I going to say to that? Like, that's, you know, the problem is that's what's out there. And if you do a click, that's the first thing that comes. And why wouldn't you pay $5, right? You know, and it's like, well, when she started to go look and see that it was something that was just shit out, you know, it's like when I've never, you know, I don't know, you know, it's like, I've been so lucky to be with people who believe in their products and believe in their stuff. That's not on the table because they made something cool and they need help making it get out into the world, you know, and, you know, I also have a bit of a governor on what I'm going to charge, you know, because it's not ethical to say, I'm going to try to get 10 times what I normally get for this because you're just big or because you're small or because I can pull one over on you. I couldn't live with myself pulling that shit, you know? And, you know, I have a rate, but I also blast that rate to shit the moment I find out that someone's just cool or I just like them or whatever. I'm open to that, I know, people might be squirming right now, but if it's business and we're doing business, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's a take it or leave it kind of thing, but it kind of has to be sometimes, and here is the bigger thing. And this might just come with the confidence of someone who has passive income and has built this monster. But if someone's going to push you like that, you don't want to be around them. You don't want to be working for them. If they can't see the value in what you do, you might have to wait a little bit and then get the guy that does. Get the people, the entity, the business, the man, woman, person that's going to say, I like what you do. There's no question. This is our budget. It's $3,000. See, if we all think we can get 30 grand for a logo, that's happened to me 3 or 4 times. And it was something so giant. But what happens when it's a little restaurant that only has $3 grand? That's still a laptop. What if it's a little shitty record label that only has $300? That's 25 records in my life. 25 records. That's a stack of records this high. That's pretty cool to help someone's little record label. So, I hope that answers the question.
It does.
I remember being in more of a precarious situation where someone would say, we just don't have that budget. And then I would compromise and say, cool. Because what? The $5 grand I wanted, they only had $42.50. That's still $42.50. They don't know that I did it in 10 minutes or spent 100 hours. They would never know either of those.
Right.
I had to be okay with either, like how to price my work or something. And then I've got a lot of jobs and return jobs because I did not give out one iota of okay, that's a little too much for our price. We can't do $5 grand. We can do $3 grand. And then we agree on that. And then they start pushing me around because they want to push it farther, do extra stuff, and they go out of scope. They heard none of that from me until it got to the point where I just couldn't take it anymore. But I would overexceed, and just to get the thing done. That's part of my work ethic to say, I'll ride this out with you. They don't know it's not that painful. Then there's been some painful ones. There's been a couple where I've had to give money back and just say, you know what? Not only do you guys not know what you're doing, I don't even want to be around you. That kind of shit. And I just gave them all the money back. That was a tricky one, but
we've had to do that.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Well,
it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
It's not worth. Well, I'm when I wasn't in a good situation and I had to make it worth it, I knew how to fight it out.
Yeah.
I knew how to fight it out. But with age and with padding things, you get to a point now where I can tell in the first email if I'm going to be down with working with them. If they don't use my first name or address you in you know what I'm saying? I can't just reach out to someone and say, what's your logo rate? Well, the one that's this big is $20. And if you go to this big at the softball size, that's $100. Go to the pizza size one, that's $2,000. Who the fuck are these people? Well, it's up to us to kind of say, well, guys, it's the same price here and the same price here, but I don't know. I sound like a dick now.
All right. Let me sum it up for our audience here. Just really quick bullet points. One is the symmetry of logic. That's what Aaron was using. He was saying, where else in your life are you able to negotiate for the services that you receive? He mentioned the plumber or the roofer. So just check themselves before they wreck themselves kind of thing. The other thing is to value your work and to value yourself. Aaron, did you want to say something?
Yeah, because, here's the deal. With the HVAC guy, when they won't budge because that's just policy. Okay, here's a better example. Freight dudes who come to my shop. Now, some freight guys, they will just play with the edges and say, you know what? It says here on my little invoice, I don't have to bring it up to your door. We're not even allowed to bring it inside because then they'll make up all these certifications and insurance issues and stuff. But then the next guy, there's this one gal, she'll just bring the shit right up to my door. And every time she does, I buy her lunch. I don't care if that's her job or isn't her job. I buy her lunch. Like the HVAC guy, by just saying, thanks for coming out here. We're cold. We're in a bit of a spot, and I appreciate what you do. I say that shit because I mean it. And that you watch people turn a couple extra screws for you or say, you know what, while I'm here, let me do this, this, and this. I can knock that out. It's another half hours for the time, but I'm going to do this, this, and this because we don't want to come back in a month. What if I was just standing there going, I don't like the $92? this costs. Well, that's what people do, and they're mean. So being kind goes a long way. I'm not the most shining example of that. When I lose my shit, I've been losing my shit a little bit more. Like when you're at like a Home Depot and people are ahead of you. I'm going off the rails here. People are ahead of you and they're arguing with the little person who's working the the register, and they're being mean to them. I am turning into this middle-aged man that's like, hey, back off for her. That kind of shit. I've been doing a little bit of that.
Yes.
I think it comes with age.
I love it.
You're becoming a cranky old man. That's what it is. It's cool.
Do we have time? I got a great story about where something surprised me.
Okay, I want to come back to that. There's a couple things. I just want to finish this line of thought so that people can capture this information. So, guys, if you guys want to screen capture this, I think it's important for you guys to value your work and hence yourself. Value yourself and your work, and don't worry about kind of chasing every bottom-dwelling, bottom-feeding person. And then the other answer is sometimes, you know what, you guys just find better clients, and better clients are out there. So if they don't treat you with respect, Aaron has his red flags. If we don't call him by his first name, if the tone is wrong, if the way that the phrase question seems like this is trouble, listen to your gut and don't pursue those things. You'll live to regret it. And advice. Yeah. He talked a little bit about some kind of maybe I've interpreted it here. It's some kind of minimum level engagement. You kind of know what your bottom line is, and between that and what you want, there's a lot of flexibility. And leading to that, it's okay to do work for people you like for less money. That's totally okay. These are Aaron's words, not my words, because I have a different philosophy, but that is good. And last but not least, this is a little bit different. This is just me. Sometimes when you guys are getting bullied and you're not, your pad, your runway, your financial well-being isn't really set, and it's very hard for you to kind of argue this thing, there is a response that you can say sometimes when somebody's like, hey, will you pitch for this? Will you do 15 versions of it versus 3? You can just respond with saying, it's our policy, and then you fill in the blank. And oftentimes that will get people off your back. Because I am for you. I am for the creative, the solopreneur, the entrepreneur who's trying to make it in this world. So these are some tools that you can use. I wanted to, again, I want to engage our audience on Facebook and YouTube, and then I want to hear this story, the dark story.
A question.
Are you guys ready?
1 minute. I think Ben pulled up another question.
Something else happened here?
All right. So at what age is it too late to start down the road of learning graphic design and figuring this career out? Because I have a 21-year-old who's asking if it's too late.
21-year-old? Oh, my God. Yeah,
wow.
You're way over the hill. It's game over. Just forget about it.
You are just a little too old. I'm sorry.
Age is a weird thing, and I'm 44 years old, and that 21-year-old, do I want to be 21 again? Well, maybe, but I would say you certainly aren't old enough. I mean, frankly, I meet a lot of kids in school who are wrapping up a 4-year degree at 22, and they're ready to go start working, and it's like in all reality, they could take 10 years and go live in 5 cities for 2 years a city and come back to wherever they were at that 22 mark and then start to really work at 32. And then for 10 years, you went and lived your life, and you tried 5 different places or, 5 different partners or whatever, 5 different, prison systems. There's lots of different things that you can go do. It's like, that comes with getting older. I mean, to answer the question, fuck no, you can start at any time, because if it's a hobby, like today, like I was excited. I was tuning my guitar with, and when you guys were getting going here, because I'm going for a lesson today, and I can play songs and strum and learn little doodads and things, but I'm going for a lesson. I'm surrendering today. So is it too old at 44 to learn how to let someone who plays guitar show me a better way? Hell no, it's not. Now I can't wait until this summer when I go and try to go to I'm going to go to like a folk school. I've been looking at some folk schools, go make a canoe or something, to go, I don't even know what I'd even do with the canoe. You have to go outside to use it. But I do want to, maybe learn how to make a canoe. Am I too old to go learn how to use wood and learn how? No, I'm not. So design is the same thing where it's like, my favorite shit is when I find a 45-year-old who says, I watched one of your things. I used to like this stuff when I was in school, but I went and became something. I raised a family, but I've been watching your stuff and I've been getting back into it. And Aaron, I sent you something I made, and you can't tell if it's hot shit designer X or middle-aged dad, you know, who's working from 11 to 12 at night when he's got 1 hour to himself. That is awesome. That is awesome. So, no, you know, 21 isn't shit, by the way.
I have a follow-up question for that.
Okay, let's, sorry, yes, what do you got?
Okay, so someone asked, if you were to start over again, learning from the ground up what you know now, what would you tell your old self? What would yourself now tell yourself?
Hey, Molly, I know the question.
Okay.
Aaron, what sage advice would you tell your younger self?
Don't do live stream podcasts.
Not from the basement, at least. Not from the basement.
Be really good with your taxes. That shit is unfuckwithable. It is. You know, it's what is it, death and taxes and all that kind of stuff.
That's right.
This isn't something I would have told myself because I'm so thankful I did it. But, you know, I would say to everybody, you're going to have to work hard. And it might be at the expense of like a drinking problem. What I'm saying is I never really got a drinking problem. Now, there's other issues. Full disclosure. There's other issues. But I wasn't out fucking around at like bars and stuff when that was kind of the fashionable thing. I was working. I was like making. I was learning new techniques. I was downloading, uploading, thinking, saving my money from jobs I had to go and explore America and go look at dead stuff or use that in my work. And all of it filtered into my goal of just getting myself free, you know. But, you know, there would be these impasses, which were like, we're all going out, waka, waka, waka. And I'd be like, well, I'm not. And then you get, you know, guys going, well, how come you're not coming out? We're all going out. No, I had to get my 10,000 or 20,000 or 100,000 hours or whatever the hell it was. You know, and that wasn't going to happen with me being a snowboarder all day long or me, you know, taking too many classes at college to try to. I had to go and just kind of just find it, you know. So younger, you know, the sage advice to a youngster is like, learn to love this stuff, because when you love it, it doesn't feel like a job. You know, some jobs are going to pay a lot. Some jobs aren't going to pay shit. If you get stiffed, move on to the next damn thing, you know, and they will reap what they sow on some karmic level. I mean, I can tell you this much. Anyone who's ever pulled a quick one on me, you go back a couple, it's not just to me. They're doing it in all sorts of zones in their life. It's not just our dumb little logo we made. That shit, you know, yes, it means a lot to us because that's what we're making our paycheck from. But when you look at the rest of their lives, they're pulling quick ones, and that shit adds up. It adds up somewhere. It adds up in the fact that people don't like the person, you know? You know, when I was talking about the stealing shit or like, you know, whatever, you know, I would say to myself, I mean, I have to say to myself, you have to make your own path and find it. If you find out you're overlapping someone, you got to like de-lap or de-overlap or whatever. You got to go make another little fold or flap. Sorry about the siren. I hope everyone's all right. But you have to find your own way. I mean, I did that either, I don't know, through my circumstances of having no money and being so freaked out that I was broke. I know what it's like to be broke. I have the screenshots when I had the most debt I was ever in. I have those screenshots, and I have the screenshot when I paid it off. And that sucked. That took a couple years of just no records and no goodies and no bullshits and sandwiches and sad little hamburger helpers and salads and bullshits. You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't get to go out with your buddies and, you know, whip it up or drink it up or, you know, whatever the hell, you know, you were doing. Like, I remember I didn't go to any movies for a couple years. What a bummer. You know, I just didn't. But that's when I got ahead, you know, and I've never looked back, you know. So I don't know. You know, I you know, for people starting now, it's like 10 years ago, you're in a better spot to start. You know, the machines are faster. The stuff is beautiful still. And there is no excuse why you can't just make cool things. There's just no excuse. You've got dribbles and things and, you know, stuff to share and look and experience and play with. And it's just a really cool time. It was a cool time 10 years ago too, you know? So I don't know, you know, be open to this shit. Go and enjoy it. You know, we're not well, I don't know. Is bagging groceries a bad? No offense to the grocery baggers out there, but we're not bagging groceries here. You know, we're like making things. It's really look behind you. Look behind. Like I'm looking at, you know, all the kids right now, the two of you guys, and you look and I know some of those people who made those posters. Like, first of all, those posters are sweet. They're colorful. They're cool. They're like, just to be around all this stuff is a privilege. You know, like, we make things that we still enjoy. Like, I sometimes make stuff and I'm like, I want to frame that and put that on my wall. Weird.
See, I'm the exact opposite. I make something, I'm like, I don't ever want to look at it again, ever again.
I kind of do that too sometimes.
Well, that's probably it's probably a little healthier than some of my.
All right, let me summarize here. There's so much here I can't keep up. Erica, don't show them when I'm typing. It's supposed to be funny. So here we go. Fudge, no. Age is just a number, and 21 isn't stuff. All right, 21 isn't stuff. Next, pay Uncle Sam. This is wise, sage advice from Mr. Draplin. Idle hands are the devil's plaything. Work hard, keep it straight. Love what you do and do what you love. Don't hold on to grudges. Hashtag move on. Just move on, guys. And he invented a new word. I think it's called D-lap. Find your own path. And you may be broke sometimes, but you're not broken. So pick yourself up. Tomorrow's another day. No excuses.
That's pretty good, Chris.
Make cool things. Make cool things. No excuses. And you know what? Keep it humble, you guys. It's a privilege to do cool stuff. That's what I got. All right, guys.
That's awesome.
Next question. Let's pick out something from Facebook or you know what I want to mention here before we take on the next bit I just want to mention that Crypto Merch Club is saying, dude, love your book, Aaron, and bam, I got the book right here.
I got to do a shout out to a buddy. Hey, James, nice to see you. Hey, we just got the results in. It turns out we're brothers. Everything's good. I'm your brother, long lost brother. We'll see you soon in Knoxville. James, nice to see you. Hold on, I got an email coming. Nice to see you, man. Back a couple months ago. Well, I got the bandwidth. Thank you for digging field notes, and we'll talk soon. There.
Excellent. That's what you do on live.
The sweetest guy. We were hugging each other and shit, and I think we might be brothers. I mean, like on a family level. So
for real?
No.
What do you think?
You said it with such sincerity. Shame on me. All right.
He's a really sweet guy. No shame. He's a sweet guy, and I like that he's tuning in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. That's cool. I recognize him.
All right. Let's go.
All right, I got a good question from Hope and I Design. They want to know, how do you deal with a client that wants to change the logo or design midway through a project and you don't agree with what they want to do?
Our audience is coming hard at you, Aaron. They're coming hard at you right now.
Well, you have to be gracious and you have to work with it. You know, it's, first of all, who are we making the things for? Is it for you or is it for the client? Who's paying the paycheck? Turns out the client is paying the paycheck. If they want to change things, that is their prerogative. Because after that, we're just designing for our egos. It turns out, newsflash, you're not designing for your fucking portfolio. You're designing to get their product sold. You're not designing for your portfolio.
Yes.
Forget that. Like, nowhere in the bylaws of graphic design does it say, by the way, when you take this project, you're making this to make yourself look better. You know how you do that? You make shit after you.
Hold on, that's a news flash there, you guys. Where's my news music here?
News flash.
Here we go.
That's a huge one.
I have to work a little bit. Sorry.
There you guys go. Can Aaron hear the sound effects?
I don't think so. No.
No.
Well, I mean, I did hear some.
Yeah, you can hear it. We got it all mixed up.
I don't
This
know
is
how you guys
awesome.
do that, but you know, it's. Oh man.
Sorry, I killed it.
A couple years ago, I did a logo where halfway through, you know, the client, you know, I forgot to secure my PDF. They cracked it open in their version of Illustrator, and they went to work, and they tweaked it to where they liked it, and I didn't agree, but it was a humbling moment because I just had to remind myself, to their eye, if this is what they dig, I'm cool with it. Because I don't have to show it later on in my portfolio. Yes, every time I see it, I'm going to go, ow! But that's biz, you know, and it's an audience of me, just me, that feels the hurt. you know, and I can live with that stuff. It's okay. I'm more concerned that they're gonna love it, print it, use it, because if I never, you know, release, you know, the info that says, by the way, version 11 was better than version 7 that he picked 7, or he tweaked it to their liking. It's theirs. It's theirs. It's theirs. That's why I continue to push myself to make little goofy heart logos on Valentine's Day, because I get the buzz. I get the full buzz. I get to make it. I get to create it. I get to sketch it. You know, I mean, I don't know. You guys can look at my Instagram for the last couple of days, you know, and then you can kind of look at this and say, wow, you know, he does sketch things. And then he don't make it, you know, and then he also sketches shit like this. Look at that. Me and my nephew are having a drawing. By something. So, you know, like, I get the buzz. It's completely from A to Z, the full experience there. That's enough for me. Sometimes you're going to be missing, you know, I don't know, E through Z, and oh well, you know, and that thing. And I think that the thing is like we tend, you know, when all your eggs are in that basket, you want to show that work, you know, and be able to get behind it. But sometimes it's going to get away from you, and that's just the most adult way I can say it. And we just have to be very gracious and realize that you still paid your bills in the process. You still did your service to these people and their, you know, the problem and stuff. And I will say, one level past that, how you battle someone changing shit halfway through is you make shit so good, there's no reason to change it. And that takes work. That takes some elbow grease, and it takes, here's how you do it. Here's how you do it. If you promise something Friday morning, and there's Google alerts, dingleberry whizzers going off, maybe yes, no's and shit, but, you know, alerts and reminders and stuff going off because you have a meeting on Friday morning, and everyone's gunning for that moment to be there Friday morning to talk about the work. Whoever your contact person is, if you send them something Thursday night off the record and just kind of go, listen, hey, I don't know what happened with this little piece right here, but I'm really digging it. And I'll talk, there'll be a rationale provided tomorrow morning at 10, you know, when we're all assembled. But if you show them that you're human and you really felt something and you can get behind it, you'll see them root for that thing, you know? Those are little ways to diffuse this stuff where it's like, I know, you know, here's another little pro tip. If you're supposed to have your shit ready by 10 a.m. on Friday, you better have your shit ready by 10 a.m. on Friday. If you need to say, we need 2 more hours because we're a little bit behind because my email's broken, you're on defense then. And they'll use it against you. They'll use it against you every time, you know? So, you know, you got to hit your targets. You got to over exceed. You know, if someone wants to change it halfway through, there's going to be some lemons. But if it went out there and it worked and it did the job, you did your job. You know, I mean, that's the best way I can say. I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm just not going to be mad about it. You know, I'm going to make things on my own that doesn't exhibit that.
That actually leads into a really good question.
Wait. You can't ask another question before I summarize.
Okay.
You're going to summarize. All right.
I got to summarize.
I have
I
a
got to summarize
question,
everything
too.
that Aaron's going to say. All right, here we go. The summary is this. It's not about you, stupid. It's about them. He didn't put the word stupid in there, but I did. And no one is paying you to build your portfolio. And if you want to build your portfolio, go ahead and do some personal projects. Don't make this a problem for the client. Here's another tip from Aaron. Make it so good, no one will want to change it. That's on you. Hashtag on you. And another one is stick to the deadline and deliver. Lastly, just do your job. Do what you say and say what you do, and that's it. That's a formula for success. Ben Burns, what's a question?
All right, so we touched on personal projects there, and the people want to know, and we get a lot of questions here about this, is where do you find your inspiration for those personal projects? How do you get past the creative block when it comes to not having a client in the equation?
Yeah. You guys, we got to lose this creative block shit, because what it is, it becomes this like 40 ounce, 80 ounce, 120 ounce pump lube.
Where did we just go, Aaron?
Anything today because I have creative block and I can't do anything. And you got this big glop of stuff and go put it in there and just kind of, you know, ooh, I got creative block. I got it today. Okay. I've said this a million times on all these dumb shows I go do. By the way, I'm going to Clemson next week, and we already sold this bitch out. It's going to be great. Thank you to Clemson. In 2 weeks, I'm going to the High Five Conference. Everyone come to that and rally. Okay. Like, you have to understand how lucky you are to be in a position to stop yourself and go, I'm creatively blocked. Because frankly, you know, today, if I look out my window right now, there's a big window in front of me right here. If I look at my window right now, there's construction guys out there. And the construction people that are working out there, they're not allowed to say, we can't do the job because we have pylon block. We can't put the pylons out to help route the traffic because we have pylon block. We can't do it. You know, you have got to put the pylons out. You have got to make the traffic go this way. And if you accepted, you know, this rough plight of being a creative for what you do, I get it. People get tired, you know, people get exhausted and you work all day, but where is your spark? You know, where is your fire? You know, where is this thing inside you that's like, I hate my job, but this is how I pay my rent. This is how I get insured. This is how I take care of my family. And I'm doing what I got to do because I do that in some level too. But this little thing over here just keeps haunting me. It was one little sketch I started here, and I can't wait to get home and get on my own time to do this stuff. That's not about creative block. It's about harnessing, you know, like what your life force with being creative is going to be. And frankly, I mean, this is the people I look up to so much. It's a sickness. Like, they can't turn that shit off. So to answer your question, you have to find the things that, you know, if I was to ask Ben, what's your favorite thing you like to make? And he would say
logos, for example.
Okay. So Ben likes to make logos. So I'm betting Ben makes logos for the Future, you know, corporation and all this kind of stuff. Okay, so that's how they plug him in there. But if he wasn't allowed to do that, because at his job at Future, he is something else. He's watching over all the content, and I don't know, you know, whatever. But he goes home and he wants to make a logo. You know, frankly, he could just make a logo just for the hell of it and just kind of say, hey, Molly, you need a logo for the MOLLY, right? You know, this kind of thing. And he makes a logo for her because it's his friend and whatever. That's still like, that's still a project. That's still a real thing. And it's like, now that's just looking around you and going, well, my friend needed a logo, you know, or I like her name and she needs a cool little something for a sticker for her water bottle. I mean, what I'm getting at is like, I just know how to look. And I know how to find sort of like a hole and say, oh, I've never seen that. I'm going to make some of those things. I want them for my wall. I want them for my water bottle. I want them for my stuff. But you guys, we have to be really careful with this creative block stuff because that is a weird sort of invention that we've made for ourselves because frankly, we just don't know how lucky we have it. Mm-hmm. We're in a position where we get to say to ourselves, today I'm off. 99% of everyone else, they're not allowed to say they're off. They have got to do their job or they get in trouble. Mm-hmm. So you have to have a little bit of respect for, you know, what our, this isn't that hard, you guys. It's not that hard. And I hope this doesn't come off as disrespectful in any respect to someone who's putting a well-meaning question in. But how I get inspired, I go look at the world outside of this computer screen. How do I get inspired? I hold babies. How do I get inspired? I take a couple days with my girl and we go out to the coast and we nerd out. I mean, I worked the whole time, but I took a sauna. Oh, if walls could talk. But just so much skin and sweat. But, you know, how do I get inspired? I go look at things that I'm not comfortable around. Like I go junking, or I go down the wormhole of Etsy and see all kinds of crazy things people are making, you know, or I go down the wormhole of eBay. You know, someone's got to take a photo of that thing and put it up there. It's just like a big museum to me, you know, just millions of things that are constantly, you know, churning over with my little searches and stuff. So what I would just say is, you know, we're lucky to do this shit. Fine. If Ben's favorite thing to do is make a logo, I would love to see the 5 logos that he made that he's like, I didn't make a buck for these. They were just fun to make because I'll tell you right now, it's probably the best work he's ever done. And that's the shit he should be showing his portfolio, and then go get a big job and quit the future. I'm just kidding.
Man, I love to see those logos that you dream about every day. So, Aaron, I got a bunch more questions. I don't know how to do this because we are kind of running a little long here. Yeah. Are you okay hanging with us for a little bit longer?
Hey, at the $10,000 an hour you're paying me, no problem. Let's get going.
Checks in the mail. Okay, so I have 3 questions from Facebook, and I'm hoping also that we can do a little rapid fire free association. So one is from Kevin Green. He's asking, this is a really good question. How do you feel about the big man label? Being a big man.
Oh yeah. Here, I'll tell you how I feel when someone goes, "Hey, big guy." It's a nice way of, because you know what I do? I go, "Hey, medium." I go, "Hey, medium-sized, forgettable motherfucker." My mind. What do you mean, like the big man label? What do you mean by big man?
I think when he's saying, I mean, you used to come on stage and say, I'm a big man or the big guy may try to make it in the little leagues. And I think there may be an association with weight or something. I don't know. He's just asking that question.
Oh, I see. Well, I mean, we'll address both sides of it.
Yeah.
First of all, the idea of, on some metaphorical level, that I'm a big man that like is trying to do big things and big stuff. When you see the show or you meet me, you'll realize that's just not the case.
Right.
I mean, I get a little prickly because I can't get my tech to work. Sorry, this morning, you guys, where I'm like, oh, I don't know how to make this thing work. I'm not used to Zoom or whatever. But on a large physical level, well, yes, I'm a big person, and I'm not going to really, sort of beat myself up over it. Would I like to be a normal size, healthy individual? Fucking A, of course. But I'm not going to, I'm not going to kill myself over it, like as far as like raking myself over the coals and not just kind of fucking going for it. I only get one life. I'm going for it. You can't accept me for whatever, how small I am or how big I am. What the hell does it say about you? Right. Because that's not, the perspective that I've gained when you watch, when the guy says to me, at the airport, when the guy goes, "Hey, big guy," hand me your, at the TSA, and I'll go, "Hey, medium-sized guy." You have to live with that face,
right.
Whatever I say. I would just say this much: you can't beat yourself up, but I will say it's not cool. It's not cool to just say, "I'm just going to be this thing." Mm-hmm. I'm constantly fighting it. I'm constantly battling. I'm trying to get myself off of all sorts of shit at all times. I mean, we're not. It's one thing for me to kick Coke, and I love a Coke. I love a Coke, but you can't have a goddamn big gulp every day that's the size of this monitor. You can't have it. You can have a little one maybe every other day, or maybe I was told once a week. Oh, that's a tough one to wrap my head around, but I got to wrap my head around it. Yeah. It's irresponsible for me to say, I'm just going to live my life how I want to live it. If you don't like it, whatever. So that's addressing some scary stuff, but I'll be the first one to tell you it's hard as fuck. And I don't know how to do it. I have a buddy who just lost 130 pounds, 130 pounds. He's 1/3, or he lost 1/3 of his life, like his stuff. Mm-hmm. He looks like a whole new person. And every post is about how long he's running and all that. And I don't want to be that either, but it's just irresponsible to say, I'm not going to do anything about it. No, just like you have to go put gas in your car, you have to put good fuel in your car. You have to put good fuel in yourself.
Right. And
that's a daily battle. A lot of why I'm kind of jumping out of, this studio here is because we are tempted by sweet little markets and what do you call them? Food carts and riffraff and things and drive-thrus and stuff and shit all around us down here. And when I get in my backyard, it'll be a little easier to just go have an oatmeal in the morning when I'm hungry instead of fucking around going and having some big sandwich when I'm hungry at 2:40, right? That's just not good policy. But I have to be honest and say, I'm not proud of that, so I'm working on it.
I think you should be proud of it. You got to own who you are. I'm a bald Asian guy, right? So who cares?
Well, you are?
Where's the newsflash music? There it is.
So to answer the question, it's like, I'm not going to I'm not going to hide.
Right.
But I'm also not going to hide from the fact that, I don't accept this shit.
Right.
I'm not going to hide from, I'm going to accept myself and go for it. Mm-hmm. I'm also going to try to get healthier. Healthy is good. I don't drink, smoke, any of that shit. you know. And sometimes I'm like, man, I ought to like, I wish I had a big multi-chambered vape unit. I kind of like, there's like a little bit of fetishy, like, oh, I want a big silver thing that lights up and you get to, you know, puff on it or whatever. But you know, I'm glad I didn't start that stuff, because I mean, I've got my other problems, which is what I eat too late. I do eat too late. I always get home late and I eat too late, you know, or I work all day. I get really hungry at 3:20 and then I eat some big sandwich, and it's probably not the best way to do it. So I know I'm talking way too long, but I think the idea is I want to be confident to address it.
Okay, great. I love it. Let's move on to question number 2 from Dustin Dudley Scott, all the way from South Africa. He's asking you, what is the key to staying true to yourself while still trying to make a living? I think you're the best at answering this question, so I'm throwing it right at you.
Staying true to myself, but still making a living.
Yeah.
Well, can you make a living and still love it? That's what I've been gunning for all these years, you know? And I mean, but it's the understanding where there was some years there where, you know, was it being true to myself when I was good at getting up early, going and washing dishes all day long, and enough to make, you know, for 5 months up in Alaska to make enough money for a computer? Yes, that was my true self then. That was the best I could really do that summer. And I still finished it, you know, and I did it. I got that computer, and that computer became the gateway to having the tools that I could go and start to compete a little bit better, right? That was my true self. But, you know, it's like, did it suck? It totally sucked. And was I bummed? Bummed. For 4 summers I went up there, I was bummed. But I had to climb out of that shit, you know? So I think it's just sort of like, you can be true to yourself by being a good worker and accepting your sort of role and your position, and then making room in other realms. You know, it's like, if the 9 to 5 is what pays the bills, do it. After 5, you got to find some extra room in yourself to go and make some magic. And it's not going to be easy. But if it doesn't feel like it's some big, you know, plot or whatever, it'll just be your hobby. So I mean, you know, when I wasn't true to myself, I found myself, and this is going to sound pretty rough, pretending to want to do a Nike job here in Portland, Oregon. Please don't take that as like, to people who might be listening that work at the big Nike, there's nothing wrong with that. Those are incredible jobs, world-class gear, world-class logos and type and athletes, etc. But when I sat in that meeting and was like, you guys, I don't run, and I'm pretending to, I'm some authority on running, it was not authentic. It wasn't authentic to me. And you know how I changed it? I quit messing around with those fucking jobs. I could have made more. If I would have known how to play that game, but I couldn't play my game because it wasn't me being real to even, like, if you're a Nike running person and you weigh 111 pounds and you like eat bark and I don't know, I like to run. She's healthy. That's great. But, you know, I run all day. That's great. Must be nice. I'm going to die any minute. But I can't pretend to be out there and be an authority on that shit. That's being disingenuous. That's how I felt, you know, and I had to get away from it. So how I got away from it is I went and started making more and more of my own stuff. Luckily, making brands that turned into bigger retainers and helping friends invent snowboard magazines. This is, you know, 12 or 13 years ago. And then once I started to get out of the hole, I could start doing stuff that's purely just for me. And then that's when like field notes came out of it and stuff, you know? So I hope that answers your question from, you know, to the person from South Africa. That's a long way away. Thank you for tuning.
Okay. We got one last one, and then I'm going to let you guys pick the best question on Facebook or on YouTube. Okay. Come in with the strongest question, but here's one from Imnam Hak. I don't even know how to say his name or a woman's name, but the question is, and I thought this was a great question, what's a question no one has asked you but should have? You've already spoken a million times. You've written a book. Is there something that somebody should have asked you, and something that you were like, oh, God, one day somebody should ask me this because I have something to say about it?
I don't know. It's been such a weird privilege to have people interested in what you do. You know, you're always, these all feel like curveballs, because I would have been just fine today just working like I do and then going to my guitar lesson. That sounds incredible, you know? That's a great day. A question that, I don't know. It's more like I've been pretty transparent on how I got the work I got. I've been pretty transparent how I got out of the hole. I've been pretty, that's all some scary stuff to talk about, but I've always tried to make a point to demystify it and break it down as good as I can to say, you got to be lucky sometimes. You're going to have to put a lot of time in. Now, these are all things that some people don't want to hear, how many logos to show a client? If you're Chris Do, show them too. Fine. You can get away with it.
Listen, you read that tweet. You read it.
But I don't know how you do that. If you're like a Saul Bass, that's on you, man. I'm not a Saul Bass. I like it to them to have ownership, and we've already discussed that. And
Right.
it ping pongs back and forth, and what plops out after maybe 16 or 12 or 5 or 6 or 60 is theirs. That's how I do it. But who's to say any of that's right? Policy's policy. If that's his policy, that's mine. Whatever. So it's like,
Do what works for you.
I don't know what people haven't asked me. It's like that's such a weird thing. It's like, what are you afraid of? I'm afraid of diseases. What are you afraid of? I'm afraid of that piece of fucking shit, Donald Trump. I am terrified because on some level, every one of us are allowing it. And like, do I need to go and like protest and stand in front of the White House, my 800-pound gorilla body, and get out there and be like, fuck this, get this con man out of there? Well, maybe I need to, because maybe I'm not doing enough. That terrifies me too, because I don't know who's allowing that piece of shit to exist. Someone is, and I don't know. I'm going next week to Clemson, South Carolina. And some of those people in that crowd, they might be behind that guy. What's it say about those people? That shit scares me. Like, the other day when I saw those Obama portraits and Mrs. Obama, there I go again. I can lose my shit because they were graceful and they had their dignity and they were good people. And I lose my shit because part of me, I feel embarrassed that, and I knew I knew they were good. But when they're gone, I miss them. I miss them, and it's not just me. It's little kids who don't look like me. That's, and it's like shit was getting better for them. It's not for me. I got enough shit that I'm lucky to have just because of this. But for people who get fucked with otherwise, it's a scary time. And I'm pissed, and I
feel you.
I don't want to put anything on my Twitter because I don't want any bandwidth to go towards these guys. I'm not making any art that fucks with that guy. It's too easy. It's too easy. He can't even tell the truth about his hair. Work your way up from that. What's it say? And it's like, so instead I've been making heart patches, peace patches, little peace birds, and just giving the shit away or selling it and donating the money to help people. We made a little project called Notes to Self, and she donated a bunch of money from the postcards she made. One of the postcards said, "Wait until our periods sync up."
I love that one. I saw it.
Little postcard you could send to Don Trump or to your fucking senator who's getting behind him because, he or she wants to get some funding in their district or something. Complicit. If you got behind him, and I'm talking right to the camera, if you got behind that piece of shit for whatever little skewed logic, may that haunt you the rest of your life. Anyway, there, I said it.
Tell us how you really feel. All right. I have applause. There's my applause.
That's great. Sound bites are fun and all, but he's still, I can't believe it. But by the way, everyone who's listening, you guys are all invited. You're all invited to my impeachment party. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm getting a blow-up slot.
We'll be there.
Dunk tank, pizza, cotton candy, a running machine to burn some calories. You're all invited to come. It's going to be great. It's gonna be a good
When
time.
that happens, you can count on the Future team being there.
We will be there.
We will be live streaming that with you, Aaron. Okay.
Come on up. It'll be
Let's
fun.
finish it off strong, you guys. Give me the single best question because we've taken up enough of Aaron's time.
Okay.
Hit me up. What is it?
All right. So it's a question about your style. We have a lot of our audience that is resistant to picking a niche or picking a specific style to work in. And so Surya Narayanan wants to know, how did that unique style come around? Was there a single event that inspired you or a single designer that inspired you? Can you talk to that style?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would hope it's, I would hope that when you look at what I do, it's not necessarily just a one-trick pony of like thick lines or something, you know. Those are things I explore because of the limitations. To me, it's harder to make one line new and fresh and exciting than it is 1,000 lines. You know, you have a little more in your quiver. But I would hope that people would, you know, recognize that, well, when you look at field notes, it feels considerably different. And when you look at, you know, a thick lines poster series, that's one thing. But when you go look at all the patches and the stickers and the goodies, some of the stuff is just type or whatever, that there's a lot of little horses in that one horse, you know, it's a 14 horse, you know, trick show kind of thing, because I'm tapping into numbers of different things. Sometimes I'm just really inspired by clarity. You know, what I would hope is if someone actually went and looked at my book, well, they would see that I, you know, lovingly, thank you, man, thank you. I lovingly tracked and kerned everything in it, you know, and you're hard pressed to find any widows on those rags. Are we discussing rags? Are we discussing the I don't even know if people know that I love that stuff, but like when I made snowboard magazines, I took the time to build them as smart and as efficient and as easy to read as anything, you know, and that was just for goofy ass snowboarding. But when I would meet people and they would say, I really loved how you know, like the detail and the stuff. And it's like, okay, that's a lot of different things to talk about, you know? And it's like, I love the grid. I love clarity. I love complexity. Sometimes I hope, you know, what hurts out there is when I see someone emulating someone who is I'm a fan of. And then, I mean, I'm just going to say it. You cannot out Jessica Hish. That girl's good, man. Good. And she is cool. And she's powerful, and she's funny and witty and nice, and you know, and a mom, and maybe she's not doing as much work because she's raising but those children are beautiful. It's like whatever she applies her life force to, it's a pretty cool thing. Russ, all of it. But when you see people trying to be her, there's already one of her. She already did it, and you got to go find, you know, what's the next thing you're going to be like. You know, I'm trying to think of like, you know, something I've been looking at that's like, you know, like, I don't know. I you know, like it's harder for me to come up with names. It's harder for me to come up with names because I've talked about John Contino enough. That's 7 or 8 years ago that when I saw him and I was like, oh, that's really special.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about JPEG Fletcher. I should. He's really good at what he does. And I look at his stuff, I study it and go, there's moves to be made there to learn from. I don't need to go and try to make his little pineapple pelican or whatever the hell he's working on the coast of South Carolina, but there's something to learn from there, and you have to look at that stuff. It's out there for the looking at and the learning from and the loving and liking and all that kind of shit. It's like, was there a pivotal thing? Well, I think one of the things was in the 90s, before a lot of you guys were even around, there was this like damaging of typography and a damaging of form and a damaging of graphic design, and it was one big F word: fashion. And that felt frivolous to me. It just felt frivolous. It was like, why? But why? If you can't read it, it's not working. We're communicators. But what it was like this elite masturbatory art projects. You want to do that stuff? Go do it. Go do it. But don't try to tell me that's the future of graphic design. It wasn't. You know what the future was in 1995? It was looking back and being like, that grid on that corporate hand guide.
Oh, here it comes.
Well, the shit still works. These things, these principles do not go out of style. They don't go out of style. That stuff, whatever that stuff is today, of how people drive a van, they need a logo on the side of the van to understand how that shit works. That stuff still works, you know? It's like, I saw that hole and was like, I'm not going down. I'm not taking the hook into all this fashion shit, because that is not me. That's only for those who can afford it. Sorry to say it, but I tried my hand and it was bullshit. So I went towards things that made sense. I went towards logos that would work this big and this big, you know, and I hope I found a hole. And then when I started to make money and get ahead, then I started to say, well, what are things I look around and I don't see that exist. I don't see Thick Lines posters. I want those posters on my desktop or on my back of my phone. I put them on my phone, like in the background. I want those things to be alive in the world. When I was a little boy and saw that stuff, it was expensive and from Finland. And where is it now? Now you can only get those things in some, really boutique mid-century place, and you're going to pay $5,000 for it. So you know who gets to own that shit? Celebrities get to own that shit, or collectors or whatever. The idea of making the Thick Lines posters, you get a blast of color and a real screen print at that, and it's affordable. I'm proud of that, So I don't even know if I'm, I would hope that when you look at my stuff, you see a range. And then when you start to see stuff that's just a little too similar, you can tell this is a period where he's into thick lines or into this or whatever. And that can all change. That can go back and forth. Because what if, in the process of going and taking these guitar lessons today, that opens this whole new door and I play a lot more guitar. You'll see that. And that's is that another style? Is that another decision? Sure. It's just adding another arrow to the quiver, whatever that is. I hope this sounds good, you guys.
It does. It does. Okay. Look, before we kind of wind into our last segment, I got to make a quick announcement, and then we're going to do rapid fire with you, Aaron. First, I want to let you guys know that Adobe Creative Jam, if you're in Los Angeles, it's Thursday, March 1st, 7 to 10 p.m. Molly, can you drop the link in on our thing?
Okay.
It's going to be awesome. We went to it last year, and we won, and that's how I actually got to Adobe Max and to talk to Mr. Draplin himself. So before we do the rapid fire, I just want to read some of the comments because you're here engaging with us. You can't see how much love you're getting right now. First of all, we crested 1,200 on YouTube. That's a record for us, I believe. And I don't know what the Facebook numbers
400.
are. People 400. Are like, Aaron for president. What else here?
Aaron, you've gotten 2 marriage proposals. Just saying.
Okay.
Sorry to me. Well, sorry, humans. You never know. Humans, I'm taken.
So,
Smart.
Yeah, Explosion says, you are my idols. Orlando saying, awesome. Janina says, love you, Draplin. Doug's just sending you a heart. And there are a lot of hand clapping emojis going on here. Jose Gonzalez is saying, Aaron is real. Salute. Somebody's saying, Ben, you look like Aaron. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, so let's do rapid fire.
We might be brothers.
It's the beard.
Let's do it rapid fire. Okay, so here we go, Aaron.
Hey, Ben, turns out I'm your dad.
You're not old enough to be Ben's dad.
You realize that? You just made my day. I'm going to tweet that. Aaron Draplin is my dad.
This is like a Maury Povich moment, right? Or
Molly,
Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
I'm your dad.
You're my dad.
Are you everyone's dad?
He's been busy.
I'm your dad.
Oh my God. I missed you, Dad.
All right, okay.
All right, here we go. This is the last bit, the last segment here. So you guys ready for this? I'm going to say a word. Aaron, you just say whatever comes to your mind. Free association. I think there are 6 or 7 categories. You can say pass or you can say that's stupid. It doesn't really matter. We just want to end it on this. A little bit of energy right at the end. Thank you, first of all, for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. It was a long time coming, and I'm so happy. And you've made a lot of people happy on the internet right now. So thank you from the entire Future team. You all can quit after this. It's totally cool. Then work on your logos.
Take Aaron's advice.
Take his advice.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. 1, person.
Person?
Yeah, whatever comes to your mind. Favorite person, a person you hate, whatever.
Favorite person? Lee, my mom, my little sister, my nephew Oliver. I think of people that are close to me. My 2 partners, Dave and Goo, who haven't been in the shop in a while. But person, I don't know. I think of, okay, sorry. Okay. I have a tendency to go a little long-winded. So
this is rapid fire. So next one, we have 7 categories. So food.
Tonight we're going to Chaba Thai, which is our favorite Thai restaurant in Portland, Oregon. My buddy Rod Snow, my mom and Lee, and Katie, Rod's Katie. So we're going to go have dinner tonight, and I'm going to probably get the yellow curry just because it's so beautiful. It has the green and red bell peppers with all the yellow. It's such a beautiful food and beautiful people. And I might even order the menu in a Thai dialect tonight.
We're ready to go lunch right now on that.
Yeah.
Okay, next one up. Irritation.
Irritation. Learning how to solve it, learning how to deal with it, learning how to, managing. I guess the word would be management.
Okay. Great. A guilty indulgence.
Guilty indulgence. That one's easy. Uncle Cracker. I'm lying. Fuck Kid Rock and all affiliates. Guilty indulgence. Guilty indulgence. Van Halen 5150.
All right, next up, hero.
Hero?
Yeah. Whatever comes to your mind.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. It's like that Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Okay.
Is that how you say it?
I don't even know.
Well, I was very impressed. Well, look him up. You know, I was very impressed by his, bravery, and he's written some heavy stuff. Anyway,
Great. Gadget.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Great.
Yeah.
Last but not least, the future.
Needs an E on the end.
Well, I was talking about your future. What are you excited about? What's coming down the line?
It always looks like a typo. I apologize.
It's totally okay. We get that.
But it's still cool. It's still cool. The future. Well, I hope for simpler things. You know, it's slowing down. It's going outside. It's taking a break. It's enjoying some of the stuff. It's finding time to help people a little more. You know, because I think we're all going to have to do that as Americans. You know, and listen to each other and help people. Help these motherfuckers on whatever other side it is over to our side to say, guess what? When we all do okay, we all do okay. It can't just be those who bully their way to the top. It can't be. It's not cool. Little kids. You take Oliver and his little buddies at school. They're all 7-year-olds. You put them all together. One kid falls down. They pick the kid up instantly. The kid starts to cry. They soothe them. That's called human nature, because they haven't been told yet that someone gets to say, you're the best looking, you're the biggest, you're the smallest, you're the whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? When you see that, that's hopeful to me, because it's like we can retrain ourselves to say, hey, we're good. We're good. I've got your back. So I don't know. I don't know what I can do with that graphically, but I see the future being nicer in America.
Love it. Love it. We need a little bit more compassion.
Yes, we do.
So, Aaron, where are you going to be? I think you mentioned a couple of places. It's something that's not sold out yet. Remind us again where you're going to be. Where are you speaking at?
It's all sold out, right?
Well, Clemson. I mean, there's room for everyone to get in, of course. But Clemson, I think the workshop might have been sold out. But Clemson's coming up in a week, and then I go to High Five Conference. There's a bunch coming up. You can go at Draplin.com/gigs to see that. If you go to Draplin.com merch, /merch, Draplin.com/merch, and scroll all the way down. You can see some of the newest stuff we've made, posters and goodies and pins and things. And we're always shipping. Field Notes always has something cool coming. Lee's little notes to self always has new stuff. Go check her out. _notes to _self. But the idea is we're trying to make our way creatively and do things that do not break the bank. And you can go see a show, and it's $20, and it's a fun night, you know?
Oh, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. My apologies. My thumb was on the plus button.
But just while I got you guys all here, to everyone who tuned in today, thank you so much. Thank you for listening and having me and allowing this weird little privilege to come on here and be with you guys and share this time and to have this little life, and also to provide for the life that, the future gets to do this stuff that comes from all you people listening. So thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Everybody, let's give him a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right.
Thank you.
We are going to wrap up the show. Goodbye.
I can't remember.
Okay, here we go. Erica?
Erica, thank you, Eric.
There we go. And I think I need to put on some music here.